Hi there. My name is Gavin, and I'm a former IELTS examiner and experienced teacher for IELTS exam preparation. In this series of videos, we'll be going over some common areas of the IELTS speaking and writing test. Now, for today, we're going to be looking at some simple problems, common questions that are used within the IELTS exam, particularly in part one. Let's go down and have a look at some of these here. Let's skip over that, go straight to here. Basic structures. There's probably about 20 or 30 question structures that you will see commonly throughout the IELTS exam. One of those questions is, how interested are you? For example, how interested are you in music? And one particular answer you could use here is something like this. I'm not so interested in music, to be honest. I mean, I like music, but there's many other things I prefer to do with my time than listen to music. So the question, how interested are you? A lot of students, the first time you hear that, and when I've asked students this who weren't familiar with the question, they've often just replied with, how interested? What? Because they don't really come across this question very often, and they're a little bit confused as to how to answer this question. So there's one way of answering it. Another way might be something like this. Well, I'm quite interested in music, and I usually listen to music whenever I'm traveling somewhere. But when I'm at home, I prefer to do other things like watch TV or play games rather than listen to music. Another answer, at the other end of the scale, I'm very interested in music, and whenever I am not with other people, I have my headphones in, whether I'm walking to school or I'm sitting on the bus, or if I'm just sitting in my bedroom, I'll listen to music pretty much constantly. So that kind of question is often used in part one, like I said earlier, for common areas of your daily interest. For example, how interested are you in music, fashion, travel, history, sports, animals, politics, things like this? So let me give you a couple more examples. So if somebody used to ask me, how interested are you in fashion? My reply would be, oh, I'm really not interested in fashion at all, because I just care about clothes being comfortable or suitable. Maybe I'll think about my clothes for work, as in what clothes are suitable for work, but otherwise I just want my clothes to be comfortable and not make me look too silly. If somebody asked me, how interested are you in history? I'd probably say, I'm very interested in history. In fact, when I was in my last years of high school, I studied ancient history, and I was particularly interested in ancient Egyptian, Roman, and other European history at that time. And when I travel, I love to visit museums and study the local history. Okay, so that kind of question structure is quite common. And there's a similar question to this, which you might see, which is, how important is something to you? For example, how important is music to you? Now, for most people, it's not important to their life. They might like it, but unless you're actually related to music in your work or studies, you wouldn't normally say it's very important to you. However, if you're a music student, you might say something like this. Music is very important to me because I'm a music student and I play music almost every day. I hope to be a professional musician one day. Now, of course, that's for people who do work or study music. For most people, they might say something like this. Well, while I really enjoy music, I wouldn't say it's very important to me because I can still live my life without it. It's not like food or water. It's just something I do sometimes. And then there's the bottom end of the scale where you might say, well, music isn't important to me at all because I almost, never listen to music by itself. I might listen to music when it's at the mall or at my friend's home, but generally I'll do other things like playing video games or sports. So again, you've got the different levels. And if something really is your favorite hobby, the thing you do the most in your life, you might say it's important to you. So I might say sports is important to me because I love sports. I love watching sport and I love playing sport. But for most things in life, I wouldn't say they are very important to me. And again, we have the same kind of topics there. So, for example, for most of you now, the topic of English, you might say, well, English is very important to me these days because I'm hoping to study abroad. And if I don't do well at English, I won't be able to get that chance to study abroad and get that degree. Whereas for something like owning a car, if you live in a city like Beijing, owning a car is almost a silly thing to do. You'd probably say something like, well, owning a car is not important to me at all because, in the last 10 years, the subway system in Beijing has developed quite a lot. And I can take the subway to go most places I need to go. And I don't think I'll buy a car anytime in the next few years. Okay, so there are two common and very similar question structures that you might see in part one of the IELTS test. And, you can see the different ways of answering that question. Now, if there's any other issues or areas of IELTS you're interested in hearing about, please contact us on one of these numbers or email addresses here, including WeChat, QQ, and the phone number at the bottom there. Now, that phone number is, of course, a Chinese phone number. If you're outside of China, you'd probably be better off contacting us at WeChat or QQ email if you like. QQ email is the same number here with @qq.com. Otherwise, thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I wish you all the best in your IELTS exam in the future. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.